Of gender neutral toilets.
I thought it was so interesting when the point of the symbolism was brought up of having the half male sign, half female with the disabled, and of course with the intersecting issue of rape culture and problems of that nature. But of course, in essence and in theory, all gender neutral bathroom seems to be a given. Do you know what I mean? Because it's nowadays that labels that are one-dimensional are now being questioned and being like, wait, does that really represent all of us in our wholeness and who we are? But with that being said, as was said in the room, we do need to address the other issues that do influence that gender-neutral toilet, such as, are people safe to use it? If there is a question of safety, how are we going to implement punishment, or how are we going to implement a solution? And again, it's not a one-dimensional thing. It has so many different sides, and I feel like we'll get there. I feel like we'll get there.
It wasn't until, I think, I stand to be corrected, 2015 that Donald Trump was kind of involved with Miss Universe. And given the fact that, you know, there are so many laws being passed right now and votes against trans bodies in the US, what is your view on those politics?
I feel like we just need to really elevate the issues, because the whole trans community is being more visible now than ever, and I feel like it's such a new community to people, even though they've always been
existed,
there. They now have this visibility that I don't feel was ever there before, and again, it's a whole complexity of issues. In my country of the Philippines, the trans community is one of the most susceptible to violence and discrimination, and have not one law that protects them. And even the question of gender neutral bathrooms were brought up in the Philippines. We don't have that yet. So imagine South Africa compared to the Philippines are on such different levels, and then comparing again to the US. But in a way, it is kind of a good thing in that we can see examples of how they're playing out, how they're being implemented in different countries, and hopefully take inspiration or take guidance in what to and what to not do.
What do you think of Pride events?
I love Pride events, but I don't feel like the celebration and the voicing out of the issues facing the community should only be put onto one day of the year. It shouldn't rely on a colorful parade.
Absolutely.
It should be in every space that we possibly can to air it out, and why, and really, because there's to how weird as it may sound.
Look at you, like,
I'm so emotional. As weird as it may sound, so many people don't understand why we're fighting for LGBTQ rights.
Yeah.
And like, it's like, why? We do all the Pride events.
Why does it exist even?
They're like, you know, the information's on the internet that's pretty much accessible to many people. We're very vocal. Ignorance and
hate crimes.
And hate, all stemming from people just don't know. Not saying that's justifying what people say, but
ignorance.
I'm speaking from my experience of coming from the Philippines with many people who are of Catholic religion, saying like, why are you supporting LGBTQ? They think I'm promoting homosexuality or love not between a man and a woman, but it's also, no, this is not about that single facet. It's about their right. It's their right to be safe walking down the street. It's their right to live a happy, healthy, supported life.
Okay. The Miss SA pageant has got like the top 16, and I think one of the finalists is a queer.
Yes.
Yeah. What's your view on that? How do you feel about that change? Because I know of a time when somebody else was not allowed to, of a trans woman who had undergone gender realignment procedure, but her ID had still read Mr. And was disqualified. That has since changed. How do you feel about that change, and do you think that it's a progressive one that should be implemented everywhere else in the world? And does Miss Universe even look at that?
Miss Universe actually allows trans women to participate. We actually had our first trans woman participate during my year, and Angela Ponce from Spain. From Spain. And I was asked numerous times about the topic, and I am for it and I'm supportive for it. Why? Because I believe that we're in a pageant because it's a platform, not because we're beautiful women. I mean, it's an aspect, don't get me wrong, because it is a beauty pageant, but we stand for something. And if that candidate and Miss South Africa for this year, describing herself as openly queer, can be a voice for the LGBTQ in that space, then she stands for something. And I feel like that's why we have the platform of pageantry to stand for something. Because it more revolves around our stories and what we have to say in our causes more than it used to. It was before, it was mainly perceived as what do we look like and how do we answer in 30 seconds, but now the stories of the girls are being highlighted. And so I'm really hopeful that this contestant this year in Miss South Africa will open up the door for conversation and also for more participation from other women to come forward and be a voice to that community in that space.
Message to young LGBTQI plus humans in the universe.
My message to the LGBTQIA plus community is that...
And me.
Everyone, honestly, who's an ally and whatnot. It's a really cruel and fearful world. It really is. You're going to come up against so much opposition and so much ignorance. But there is strength in numbers, and there is strength in knowledge. And as long as we pursue that path on being able to really inform ourselves and inform others, because so much of our conditioning has happened from our families, from our communities, from our social structures, that we do need to have a space where we can question things and make people think, and also give spaces where people can feel safe, because a lot of people don't
feel safe. No, a lot of people are not allowed to be vulnerable.
Exactly, and that in itself is isolating, and we are at our weakest when we're isolated and alone. So I just want to send the message that even though it feels incredibly lonely and incredibly isolating, you are not alone, because there are other people going through this with you, and you will find them along your journey. And if you just stay together and, you know, find ways to educate your fellow man. No, I'm not. But I say this with my heart for sure. Yeah. We will hopefully get there eventually, where we will be able to live as colorful and multifaceted and multi-dimensional that we are as people, in harmony with peace. World peace. Very beauty queen. That, although everyone's experiences were individual and personal to them, but their underlying challenges and the underlying themes were the same. And it's a really interesting point for me to observe and to really look at, because coming from a different country myself and never have being here, but to see that we all are afflicted, or we all come up against that same issues and challenges, that it begs the question of, if the foundation of this is quite much the same, is there a solution that we can apply everywhere? And of course, it's not going to be an easy Band-Aid solution that you can put on everything too. So there's that complexity, but it's such an interesting point to observe.